Hey, what's going on, everyone? Greg here, and oh boy, rumor after rumor, leak after leak, it looks like the last Intel iMac is finally here with some surprising updates that I was not expecting, and some disappointing aspects as well. So let's go over everything that's new with these new 27-inch iMacs, and then go over what I would recommend for buying configurations at the end of this video. First of all, before we start, I just want to say thank you one last time. As I said, I was trying to reach 100,000 subscribers for my birthday, which is on August 6th, and you guys have been subscribing in record numbers. Thank you so much for this amazing gift, and if you're new here, consider subscribing as we just have 2 more days to go and we're only 1,500 subscribers away. Thank you again so much. Anyway, let's get back to the real reason you're here, not this face. You're here to see the new iMac. And let's get off to the disappointing news first, because overall I think this is a pretty decent update to an Intel-based Mac. So yes, this isn't an Apple Silicon iMac, which we know will eventually be coming out in at least a 2-year time frame. The interesting part about this iMac update is that it's only for the 27-inch model, kind of confirming rumors by Ming-Chi Kuo that Apple's first Apple Silicon-based iMac will be a redesign of the 21-inch model into a 24-inch model. Speaking of that redesign, there's nothing to be seen here, as this iMac looks exactly the same as the 2019 model, which looks exactly the same as the 2017, and the one before that, and the one before that, and the one before that, all the way back to 2012. So yes, it looks like for the last Intel-based iMac, Apple is sticking with the same design, so when they finally do switch over to Apple Silicon for the iMac, they can have a brand new fresh redesign from the start. Now, when I said the 21.5-inch iMac didn't have any updates, that was kinda not true in a way, because they do now come with a 256GB solid-state drive as standard, but that's it. Speaking of which, all the new 27-inch iMacs now also come with solid-state drives as standard too. That's right, it's finally the death of the slow-spinning hard disk drives and fusion drives on the iMac lineup, although the entry-level model only comes with a small 256GB SSD, which kinda seems not big enough, but we'll get back to that topic towards the end of this video. Another addition is the new T2 chip. This will be the first iMac that has a T2 chip included besides the iMac Pro, and this is because the iMac now has an all-flash-based storage architecture on these new Macs. So they come ready to go with the T2 security chip, which offers a dedicated storage controller, on-the-fly data encryption, and it also helps with other things like rendering video for compressed formats. Of course, like we said in the earlier rumors video predicting that this iMac was coming soon, Apple has updated these 27-inch iMacs with brand new 10th generation Intel CPUs, and you can max this all the way up to a 10-core processor inside of a regular iMac, which sounds pretty insane. Speaking of insane, we also get brand new AMD GPUs with the Radeon Pro 5500 XT and the Radeon Pro 5700 and Radeon Pro 5700 XT with a whopping 16GB of GDDR6 video memory. Man, I can't wait to perform a gaming test with this iMac on Windows Boot Camp, because honestly, this could very well be the last Intel-based iMac that is even capable of loading into Windows Boot Camp, and it might actually make a decent gaming machine for a Mac. Now, Apple says with this top-end card, you'll be able to see up to a 55% faster rendering in Maxon Cinema 4D Pro Render, up to 50% faster demo fly-through in Unity Editor, and up to 45% faster performance in Total War 3 Kingdoms, and up to 30% faster timeline rendering in Final Cut Pro 10. Also, you can now configure the new 27-inch iMac with up to 128GB of RAM, although technically you could already do this on the 2019 model if you bought third-party RAM and installed it yourself, but now Apple will ship it pre-built with 128GB of RAM if you want. Also, can we just take a moment and acknowledge that what used to be a pretty basic and low-powered iMac back in the day, the computer for everyone, and now we have the options to go up to 10-core processors, which was previously exclusive to the iMac Pro, 128GB of RAM, and max it out with a 16GB GDDR6 video memory card, shows just how far the iMac has shifted from being the computer for everyone to being a true creative workhorse. Now, even though we did not get a physical design upgrade on this new 2020 iMac, that doesn't mean there aren't new outward and inward-facing changes. The most outwardly changed this iMac is the fact that you can now get a new nano-texture glass option to reduce glare. This is the same nano-texture glass technology that Apple previously had exclusive to their Pro Display XDR. It's going to be really interesting to see what the iMac display looks like with this new matte finish, and if it's anything like the one found on the Pro Display, it should basically all but eliminate glare. Speaking of the display, this iMac now also includes the True Tone display technology, which will change the color temperature of the display depending on the ambient lighting environment around you. Now, the rest of the 27-inch iMac display is the same, but it is getting an upgrade to brand new inbuilt speakers. Apple just says these are high-fidelity speakers and doesn't really go into detail on the changes here, but that's something you'll have to come back and hear about in a future review so we can compare the old 2019 iMac speakers against this new 2020 version. On top of that, they're also bringing in the new studio quality 3-array microphone from the 16-inch MacBook Pro. I've used these microphones on the MacBook Pro, and they are pretty amazing for what you would find on an inbuilt laptop microphone, making them not only great for voice recordings and FaceTime calls, but honestly for doubling as an emergency podcasting microphone. And you're going to look even better in those Zoom conference calls and family meetups thanks to a new 1080p webcam replacing the old 720p FaceTime webcam. I assume this is probably the same one found on the current iMac Pro, which is to say it should be pretty good. Also, you now have the option to add a 10 gigabit Ethernet port for $100 more. Okay, I believe those are all the updates to this 27-inch iMac. Hopefully I didn't miss anything, but now let's get down to some buying advice. Now again, full warning, I don't actually have this iMac in hand. This buying advice is for those who want to order right away, and based on some of the speculation that I can see with the current specs. So you should probably wait for the full review before ordering your exact configuration, especially with new options like nano glass texture. But anyway, for the people jumping to order right now, let's take a look at the lineup. First of all, you have the base model, which comes in at $1,799. Now, this actually seems like an okay model, as it does come with a 6-core 10th generation Intel processor at 3.1 gigahertz, which should be plenty fast for most people, and you do get the option to spec it up to the nano-textured glass for $500 more, even on the lowest end model. As to whether you should spend that extra $500 on the nano glass texture is something I really can't say until I see it for myself, but if you work in an area that you know produces a ton of glare, it might be worth the investment. Now yes, you can upgrade the RAM here up to 120 gigabytes, although I would advise against that on all of these models, as I believe you can still upgrade the RAM yourself through the RAM door on the back of this iMac. It's super easy to do, and it will save you a ton of money instead of going with Apple's options. Only upgrade to the 10 gig Ethernet port if you can take advantage of it. Obviously, most people can't take advantage of it, so for the vast majority of people out there, you'll be safe with the standard gigabit Ethernet port. Now, my main concern for this base model is the storage. 256 gigabytes is really small. It might be fine on a laptop, but on a desktop, which usually is the main computer and will probably be used for tasks more than just like web browsing, 256 gigabytes isn't going to cut it for most people. Sure, you could attach other external drives on the back, as it's a desktop and you're not taking it anywhere with you like you would with a laptop, but I would really recommend upgrading to the $2,000 model, which comes with a 512 gigabyte SSD, which should be the minimum storage option you go with, in my opinion, and I would personally recommend spending the extra $200 to get the 1 terabyte option. As someone who currently has a 512 gigabyte SSD iMac behind me, let me tell you, it's always better to choose the bigger storage option and not be left deleting files all the time. Also a nice addition is on the mid-tier option, you do get the ability to jump right up to the 10-core 10th generation processor. So if you're someone who only utilizes CPU power and you don't care about the GPU performance, it might be a better option just to get this model and spec it up to the 10-core processor and save $200. However, if you use both CPU and GPU, consider upgrading to the $2,299 model if you're going to need a really demanding machine. This is basically a pro-level computer, which honestly, all of them kind of are, but this model has an 8-core processor as standard. You can upgrade it to the 10-core CPU for an extra $400. As to whether you should upgrade it to the 10-core CPU, for most people, I'm not sure. I didn't read anything about them changing the thermal design of the iMac, so I think the value really isn't there for the additional $400, but I could be wrong. And you might know better than me what kind of computer you need, so for you, it might be worth it to spend the extra $400 on the CPU upgrade. For a video card, you have amazing options here. Even at the base level, you get a Radeon Pro 5500 XT with 8GB of memory. Personally, I think I would skip the $300 upgrade on the Radeon Pro 5700 because for $200 more, you can get double the video memory with a Radeon Pro 5700 XT, which again has a whopping 16GB of dedicated video memory. So if you're already spending money on the video card upgrade, just go with that $500 option. Just to reiterate, for storage, I would recommend at least spending $200 more and upgrading to the 1TB SSD option. And of course, the ultimate buying advice I can give you really isn't listed here, and that's because if your current iMac is doing just fine, we all know that Apple Silicon iMacs are coming out sooner rather than later, and you might not want to invest a bunch of money into this desktop right now, even as alluring as it is, when we know a redesign should be coming out. Of course, if you need a Mac today, or you want an Intel-based iMac to take advantage of things like Windows Boot Camp, then minus it having the same design, this actually looks like a pretty decent update, at least for an Intel-based Mac. Alright everyone, hopefully this video helped you out. If it did, be sure to leave me a like. If you want to see more from my channel and help me reach that 100,000 subscriber milestone by my birthday, August 6th, make sure you're subscribed. If you want to help the channel out in any way, make sure you check out some of the links in the description. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.